As I encountered this problem more and more, I began to look for the root causes. I realized that before I found a solution, I needed to understand the problem. Just as a doctor must first diagnose a disease before treating it. Think about it. What is the cause of all this misery and failure? Why do so many people fail to speak English effortlessly despite years of study? What is wrong with English education? The first and most obvious problem I found with schools was the way in which they teach English. Most schools, everywhere in the world, use the grammar translation method. As the name implies, the focus of this method is on grammar analysis and the memorization of translated vocabulary. This method breaks English into an endless series of grammar formulas to memorize. Of course, each grammar formula has exceptions, and these must be memorized too. Schools like the grammar translation method, because it appears to be serious, academic and complex. The grammar translation method fits the way schools teach. Most subjects, with textbooks, lectures, notes, memorization, and tests. The only problem, as you know, is that it doesn't work. In real conversations, there simply is no time to think about grammar formulas and their exceptions. The failure rate for this method, therefore, is absolutely horrible. Despite the failure of most students to speak English fluently, schools continue to use this method. This is an epic failure of our education system. Recently, because students find the grammar translation method so boring, some schools have added communication activities to their curriculum. Occasionally, the teacher puts the students into pairs or groups. The students then read or repeat dialogues from a textbook. Sometimes they might answer a few questions from a worksheet. Of course, these activities are unnatural, nothing like real English conversation. Consequently, the failure rate of communication activities is just as bad as grammar translation. Obviously, the English teaching methods used in schools do not work. That was easy to see. I knew it. The students knew it. And many teachers know it too, though few will admit it. However, as I continue to investigate the problem with schools, I found even deeper problems in the education system. These problems are less obvious, but in many ways far more damaging to the students. I call these problems the hidden curriculum, because they are the hidden lessons taught by schools. The hidden curriculum. Most schools, everywhere in the world, share a similar hidden curriculum. One element of this curriculum is student passivity. In schools, students are trained to be passive, not active. They sit in chairs, in rows. When they are young, they are told to be quiet and obey the teacher. As the teacher lectures, the students take notes. Later, they are told to memorize these notes in preparation for a test. The message is clear. Learning is a passive activity. You listen to the teacher, you take notes, you memorize the notes. The problem is that speaking English is not a passive activity. You must connect with other people. You must constantly ask and answer questions. You must communicate ideas, emotions, and descriptions. You must be ready for the unexpected. You must be spontaneous. You must actively interact. English is not something you passively study, it's something you do. Related to the problem of passivity is the issue of energy. Sitting for a long time is a low-energy activity. The longer you sit, the more your energy drops. And as your energy drops, so does your concentration. What's worse, we know that some learners need physical movement in order to learn effectively. These people are called kinesthetic learners. The truth is we are all kinesthetic learners, to some degree, because we all benefit from physical movement. Schools stick us in chairs and drain our energy. Eventually, an inactive body leads to an inactive mind. The one right answer mentality. One of the greatest flaws of school education is the idea of one right answer. One right answer is a powerful part of the hidden curriculum. It is a result of using textbooks and tests. In school, You are frequently taught that there is one, and only one, correct answer to a question or problem. For example, you may be asked to choose the correct verb tense on a test, or you may be taught proper English greetings. The hidden message is that the teacher's way is always right. Real life, and real English, is not this way. For example, sometimes I will tell a story using the present tense, even though the events happened in the past. This is a technique commonly used by native speakers. However, when English learners hear these stories, many are confused and upset. They are convinced that the past tense is the right answer and the only correct way to tell the story. Some get quite upset and even argue with me about it. These students are so convinced that there is only one right answer that they will argue with native speakers. These students have been trained to believe that there is only one correct way to say things in English. The truth is there are always many ways to say the same thing. We can change verb tenses in order to change the feeling of the story. We can use different vocabulary and different phrases. And we even break grammar rules all the time. One right answer thinking limits and confuses English learners. Effective communication requires flexibility, while the one right answer mentality trains students to be rigid and unimaginative. Connected to this problem is another dangerous part of the hidden curriculum: fear of mistakes. This is one of the most negative and traumatizing messages taught in schools. How is the fear of mistakes taught? Through tests and corrections. In nearly every school all over the world, teachers regularly give quizzes and tests. The teacher asks questions and the students must provide the one right answer. Of course, the one right answer is always the teacher's answer. What happens if the student provides a different answer? They are punished with a lower score. Students are smart, and they quickly understand that in school, mistakes are bad and must be avoided. They also understand that truth is unimportant, and the best way to succeed is to simply give the answer that the teacher wants. Even worse is when a student, already feeling nervous, tries to speak English with the whole class listening. They are just learning, so of course they will make mistakes. When the teacher corrects these mistakes, the student is embarrassed and becomes even more nervous. Eventually, most students try to avoid speaking English because the situation is so painful. By punishing and correcting mistakes, schools punish risk-taking. Little by little, they train students to avoid risk and avoid doing anything they can't do perfectly. Yet there is no perfection with English speaking. Even native speakers make mistakes. We make grammar mistakes. We mispronounce words. We forget vocabulary words. It doesn't matter, because we are focused on communicating, not on tests and grades. Of course, the fear of mistakes goes far beyond English class. After years of school, most people learn to avoid risk in most parts of their life. School trains them to be passive, rigid, timid, and obedient. This not only hurts your English speaking, it also harms your career and limits your success in all areas of life. Fortune favors the bold. Those who are active, flexible, and passionate are the ones who achieve the greatest success in life. The passive and obedient rarely live their dreams. You will make many mistakes as you improve your English speaking. There is no need to be upset by this. The truth is, most native speakers don't care. They don't care if you make grammar mistakes. They just want to communicate with you. They want to share thoughts, ideas and feelings. They want to communicate with you as a human being, not as an English student. To communicate effectively, you must forget the idea of perfection and learn to be flexible. The dirty secret of English teaching. If the hidden curriculum is so bad, why do schools and teachers continue to follow it? The truth about our education system is that the curriculum exists to benefit the schools, not the students. Teachers use these methods because they are easier for the teacher, not because they are good for the student. The hidden curriculum creates passive students. It creates obedient students. Passive and obedient students are easier to control, making life easier for teachers and school administrators. Textbooks, for example, make the teacher's job much easier. By using a textbook, the teacher doesn't have to plan new lessons for every class. Planning lessons is hard work, and a textbook makes it much easier. The teacher can simply follow the textbook with minimum effort. Many teachers are little more than textbook readers. Every day they read the textbook to their students, slavishly following the lessons. In my opinion, they can barely be called teachers at all. Perhaps we should call them textbook readers instead. Another benefit of textbooks, for the schools, is that they standardize learning. By using a textbook, the school ensures that every English class is learning exactly the same thing. School officials like this because it makes testing and ranking students easier. Schools are like factories, the bosses want everything to be the same. The same is true for tests and grades. These provide little to no benefit to English learners. In fact, as we have discussed, tests and grades increase stress and create a fear of making mistakes. Tests and grades are a primary cause of English trauma. On the other hand, tests and grades are a powerful tool of control for teachers. When students fear bad grades, they obey the teacher more. They learn that the teacher is always right, because if they don't agree with the teacher's answer they are punished with lower scores. Grades are a means of ranking students. Most teachers and administrators are focused on ranking students rather than helping all succeed. In many schools, the official policy is that a certain percentage of students in every class must get poor grades, a certain percentage must get medium-level grades, and only a small percentage can be given excellent grades. In other words, the system is designed to create failure for a large number of students. While working at a university in Thailand, I was told directly by my boss that too many of my students had high scores. My boss insisted that I fail more students in my class. I was shocked and angry. I quit the job rather than purposely fail dedicated students. Sadly, this mentality of designing for failure is present in most schools everywhere in the world. Schools benefit from ranking and controlling students. The grammar translation method also benefits the teacher but not the student. By teaching grammar rules, the teacher can simply lecture from the textbook. Because linguistics is a complicated subject, the teacher appears knowledgeable and thus establishes a position of superiority over the students. Even if the teacher is a non-native speaker with terrible English ability, he or she can pretend to be an expert by teaching complex grammar from a book. The shocking truth is that many non-native English teachers, in fact, speak English very poorly. By focusing on grammar they disguise their inability to speak well. What about communication activities? Surely they are designed to help students. Actually, they are not. These activities, as we discussed previously, are unnatural. They are nothing like a real conversation, and thus do not prepare students to have real conversations. However, communication activities are great for teachers. The teacher puts the students into pairs or groups and asks them to follow a textbook activity. Often, the students simply read a written dialogue from the book or answer pre-written questions from the book. The advantage for the teacher is that once such an activity is started, the teacher can rest and do nothing. While the students go through the textbook activity, the teacher relaxes. It's a secret among English teachers that communication activities are a great way to waste time and avoid work. One particularly horrible version of communication activities is the use of movies. Used correctly, movies can be a powerful English learning tool. Most teachers, however, simply use movies as a way to waste time. They put in a movie, turn out the lights, and push play. For the remainder of the class, the teacher happily does nothing. The students are usually happy, too, because watching a movie is far more interesting than grammar, even if they can't understand most of the film. Passive low energy benefits the teacher finally, Let's look at the low-energy situation in most schools. From childhood, students are forced to sit for hours, motionless in chairs. They are told to be quiet and obedient. By adulthood, most people are thoroughly trained. They accept passive lectures and low energy as a normal part of learning. Why would schools and teachers want low energy? Again, because low-energy students are easier to manage. A teacher must work much harder with curious, energetic students. Sadly, most teachers prefer the easy way. It's much easier for them to lecture quietly to passive students. The truth is that many teachers are tired and stressed. Because of this, they constantly look for ways to make their own job easier. Their first concern is not the students. They are not obsessively focused on getting better results for the learners. Rather, they just want to get through their workday as easily as possible. There are many reasons for this situation, but the end result for the student is boredom, frustration, and poor results. This is the ugly truth of education. This is the reason you cannot speak English well, despite years of study. This is the reason you find English to be stressful, difficult, and boring. This is the cause of English trauma. This is the source of the problem. Happily, there is a solution. The internet has made independent learning easy for all. No matter where you live or what you do, it is possible to master spoken English without schools. All you need is an internet connection. In the next chapter, I will introduce the solution to English trauma. You will learn how to heal and how to finally get the results you want with English speaking. Chapter 3. Psychology is more important than grammar and vocabulary. Most people have suffered with English for so long they worry there is no solution. Trained by schools to be passive, fear mistakes, and search for just one right answer, most English learners are stressed and frustrated. Some feel nearly hopeless. They have spent years in English classrooms. They have spent years memorizing grammar rules and vocabulary lists. They have spent years studying for exams such as the TOEFL, IELTS, or TOEIC. Despite all this work and effort, most English learners are frustrated. Many struggle with even simple conversations. Many feel nervous any time they must speak English. They have memorized countless grammar rules, yet even simple conversations feel difficult. Likewise, despite years of study, most learners still cannot understand American TV or movies. After so many years of traditional learning, students are confused. When they try to speak, they constantly think about grammar and translations. First they think of a sentence in their own language, then they translate it to English, then they think about the grammar, and finally they speak. When they listen, they go through a similar process. They hear the English, translate it into their own language, think of a response in their own language, translate their response into English, and then think about the grammar to be sure their response is correct. No wonder their speech is so slow and unnatural. No wonder English feels so stressful and difficult. Real conversations are fast, and it's nearly impossible to do all of this thinking fast enough, especially when talking to a native speaker. If you think about translations and grammar during a real conversation, you will quickly become lost. Instead of listening carefully to the other person, you'll be translating your own responses and trying to remember grammar. Your speech will be hesitant. Often, the other person will become frustrated by your lack of understanding. Of course, if you see the other person is losing patience, you will usually become even more nervous. It's a terrible downward spiral that most English learners know too well. There is a solution. There is a way to escape the hidden curriculum. There is a road to English fluency, and you can travel on it. You can speak English powerfully. You can speak English clearly, naturally, and effortlessly. This solution, however, will require you to completely change your beliefs about education and completely change the way you learn English. I call the solution the effortless English system, and it is two parts, the psychology and the method. Most schools, most teachers, and most learners focus only on method. In other words, they are solely focused on the pieces of the English language, vocabulary and grammar. As we learned in the last chapter, schools primarily use the grammar translation method, with some communication activities added. While schools are focused just on method, they completely ignore the first part of the effortless English system, the psychology. Yet, psychology is probably the most important element for success with English speaking. When you think of your own English speaking, you'll realize that your nervousness, lack of confidence, and frustration are major problems. How do you change these? Without an effective psychological system, you will struggle to find success with even the best language teaching method. Let's use a story to understand these two important parts of the effortless English system. Imagine that you are on the road. You are driving on the road to English fluency. What kind of car would you want? Let's say all you have to drive is an old slow car that often breaks down. In addition, you fill this old car with cheap gasoline. What kind of trip will you have? How fast will you go on this road to fluency? Most likely, your trip will be slow and frustrating, with frequent breakdowns. In fact, you probably will not reach your destination. Now, you could put some high-quality gas in that old car, but even then it will likely take you a long time to reach your destination. Better gas will help a little, but the trip is still likely to be slow and frustrating. Now imagine instead that you'll be driving a Formula One racing car on this road to fluency. This car is made for speed and performance. Clearly, it will go faster than the old, slow car. But what if you fill it up with cheap, low-quality fuel? There will likely be problems. Racing cars need racing fuel or they will not perform well. Obviously, the best situation would be to put high-quality racing fuel into your Formula One racing car. With this car and this fuel, your trip on the road to fluency will be fast and exciting. This is how learning English works. If you've been studying for a while, you know by now that there are all sorts of systems. Traditional classes at universities, private lessons from language schools, online or packaged software courses, immersion programs that put you in the country where they speak the language you're studying. In other words, you've got a lot of different cars to choose from. Some may be better than others, some may be faster. But even the greatest of these methods, the Ferrari of language teaching, if you will, needs fuel to make it work. A method, after all, is only an engine. And if you don't give an engine the proper fuel, even a great one won't work the way you'd like it to. To succeed, you need both quality fuel and a powerful engine. The right engine plus the right fuel equals success. Obviously, I believe the right engine would be the effortless English system. What is the fuel? The fuel is your psychology. It is the beliefs, emotions, and goals that power your learning. Your fuel is your motivation, your confidence, your energy, your enthusiasm. Your fuel, success psychology. If your psychology is weak, even the best method will fail. In other words, if you have connected stress, fear, nervousness, and doubt to the process of speaking English, you will have a lot of problems. Unfortunately, this is exactly what happens in most schools. The tests, the error corrections, and the boring and ineffective methods used in schools combine to create powerful negative emotions in most students. Even if you're using my effortless English method, you must have strong psychology. Unless you bring the proper emotional energy to the language learning process, it won't be enough. The effortless English system is based upon a success psychology system known as Neuro-Linguistic Programming, or NLP. Developed by Richard Bandler and John Grinder, NLP is focused on the psychology of success, high performance, and motivation. Rather than study mentally ill people, Bandler and Grinder researched the psychology of the most successful people in the world. They then created a psychological system designed to help individuals achieve the highest levels of success and happiness in their lives. What Bandler and Grinder found was that happy, motivated and energetic people actually learn better. They perform better. They achieve more success in all aspects of their lives. The opposite is also true. If you're feeling bored, stressed, sad, frustrated or even tired, your brain actually functions more slowly and has a harder time remembering information. Clearly, it is important to connect positive, rather than negative, emotions to the process of learning and speaking English. The process of connecting emotions to an experience or process is called anchoring. Anchoring can be positive or negative. For example, imagine that you listen to a specific song when you are feeling extremely happy. If the emotion is strong enough, a connection will be formed between the song and the emotion. And if you are feeling very happy when you hear the song again, that connection will become stronger. Eventually, you will create a very strong connection between the song and the feeling of happiness. At that point, anytime you hear the song you will automatically find yourself feeling happy. That's what happens with your favorite songs and that's great. However, this process also works with negative emotions. Imagine that you have a stressful experience in English class. Maybe the teacher corrects one of your errors when you are speaking and you feel embarrassed. Now imagine that you continue to have a series of negative emotional experiences in English classes. You frequently feel bored, nervous and stressed while learning and using English. Eventually, a strong connection forms between English and the negative emotions. This is a negative anchor. Once this is formed, whenever you try to use English you will automatically begin to feel more nervous and stressed. This is why many advanced English learners still have so much trouble when trying to speak. Sadly, most learners now have powerful negative anchors connected to their English speaking. The good news is that negative anchors can be broken and reprogrammed. This, in fact, is your first step towards speaking English powerfully. Instead of feeling nervous, imagine if you suddenly and automatically felt powerful every time you spoke English. What if you automatically felt more excited every time you learned English? This change alone would improve your speaking. Through the power of anchoring, you can indeed connect these powerful emotions to English. The secret to breaking a negative anchor and creating a new positive one is intensity. The more powerful an emotion is felt, the faster and deeper the connection. So, to create a strong positive anchor for English requires a few steps. First, you must create a very intense positive emotion. Most people believe that emotions are something that happen to them, but in fact, we create our emotions. It is possible to choose your emotions and to create them consciously. For example, if you wish to feel tired and sad right now, what would you do? Let's start with your body. How would you use your body to create a tired and sad feeling? Would you pull your shoulders back, or hunch them forward? Would you look up or down? Would you smile or frown? In fact, by simply changing your body you would change your feelings. To make yourself feel even worse, you would think about sad and negative things. Perhaps you would think about a big problem you have, or about a big regret. And what about your voice? You could moan, cry, or whine, and that would make you feel even worse. After doing all of the above for a few minutes, you would genuinely begin to feel sadder and more tired. This is how you consciously can create a negative emotion. Of course, this process works for positive emotions too, and that is good news. How would you make yourself feel more excited right now? Again, start with the body. Pull your shoulders back and push your chest up and out. Bring your head up and look straight ahead. Put a big smile on your face and hold it. Next, change your thoughts. Think about something great in your life. Think about the biggest success you have ever had. Think about your future success speaking English powerfully. Smile bigger. First you are just pretending, but eventually you will feel stronger and happier. That's because your emotions change when your body changes. It's a simple technique. Of course, you can feel even better by using your body even more. Instead of just standing and smiling, raise your arms over your head. Then jump in the air like you are celebrating a big victory. And use your voice. Shout and cheer loudly as you jump and smile and think of wonderful things. Go crazy. This is called a peak emotional state, an intensely powerful positive emotion. The final step, of course, is to connect this great feeling to English. So, still feeling great, immediately start listening to an easy English audio. As you are listening, continue to smile and move your body in a strong, positive way. Each day, just before you begin learning English, you will create this peak emotion. As you repeat this process every day, these strong, positive feelings will become connected to English. Eventually, every time you hear or use English, you will automatically feel energized, positive and excited. You have broken the old negative anchor and replaced it with a new positive one. And there is more good news. Research has shown that people who are excited and energized while learning actually learn more quickly. They remember more and they remember longer. They perform better. In fact, you will speak English better right now simply by being in a peak emotional state. Creating this positive anchor to English, therefore, is your first step to faster travel on the road to fluency. Why happy students learn more. Dr. Stephen Krashen, a linguist at the University of Southern California and one of the top researchers on second language learning, believes negative emotions act as a filter, reducing the amount of new language input you're able to learn. As a result, students who feel bad, anxious or worried remember less vocabulary and don't speak as well. Essentially, they learn more slowly. The best way to counter this, Krashen says, is by keeping students interested, reducing stress in classrooms and boosting learners' self-confidence. In one study, researchers found that when they compared the performance of students who were energized and enjoying themselves in class with the performance of students who were just being drilled in material, the energized students did better. The same was true when they tested these students again at 3 months and later at 6 months. I see the same thing in our Effortless English Club community. When you look at our most successful members, you'll find a common factor. They are all extremely enthusiastic. They have a lot of energy. They're very, very positive. They have very strong positive emotions. When you use peak emotions, you can speak better, right now. Therefore, each and every time you study English, create a peak emotional state. Change your body and your mental focus in order to create excitement and positive energy. Build a strong anchor, a strong connection, between English and your most positive emotions. Heal your English trauma. Chapter 4. Your beliefs determine your English success. In the last chapter, you learned the importance of fuel, or psychology, for English speaking success. You also learned how to anchor strong positive emotions to English. In addition to peak emotions, there is another important element of psychology that you must master in order to speak English powerfully: belief. Beliefs are our most powerful brain programs. They guide our decisions, our feelings, and our thoughts. They tell us what is possible and what is not. They open us to success or limit us to failure. We can put beliefs into 2 general categories: limiting beliefs and empowering beliefs. A limiting belief is typically a negative program that limits your potential and performance. In other words, limiting beliefs limit your success. The hidden curriculum is a source of most negative beliefs about English. Over time, schools consistently program limiting beliefs into the minds of their students. After years in school, most students share some or all of these limiting beliefs. English is complicated and difficult. It takes many years to speak English well. English is stressful. Grammar study is the key to English speaking. I'm not good at English. There is one right answer. There is one right way to say it. Something is wrong with me because I still can't speak English well. My test scores are low, therefore I can't speak English well. The best way to learn English is to sit in a class, take notes, and read a textbook. Only a few special people can learn to speak English powerfully. English learning is boring and frustrating. The problem with these negative beliefs is that they lead to negative emotions. The negative beliefs and emotions then lead to bad decisions, and the bad decisions lead to disappointing results. For example, someone who believes that English is stressful, complicated, and difficult is unlikely to be motivated to work hard every day. Rather, they will constantly be struggling to force themselves to learn English. Someone who feels only a few special people can master English will likely become frustrated very quickly. They will assume that something is wrong with them, that they are not good at English. Again, their progress will be slow. Finally, those who believe that classes, textbooks and grammar study are the key may spend years using these ineffective methods, driving their old slow car on the road to fluency and never achieving success. This is why beliefs are so important. They are the central programs in our brain that create feelings, decisions and actions. Beliefs are what make the difference between ultimate success or a lifetime of frustration with English. Beliefs tell you what an experience means. Whenever you have an English language experience, your brain must decide the meaning of what happened. In other words, your brain generalizes the experience. Your brain decides what the event means to your life as a whole. And with each negative experience, the belief can grow stronger and stronger. Eventually you become completely certain about the belief. For example, maybe you were repeatedly corrected by an English teacher. After each of these embarrassing experiences, your brain had to decide the meaning of what happened. Based on these events, maybe you decided that you were bad at English. Maybe you decided that English was painful and stressful. Each negative experience made the belief stronger. The problem is that these beliefs then affected all of your English experiences that followed. So whenever you had another encounter with English, it was always with these negative limiting beliefs. Because of this, you automatically viewed every new experience with English more negatively. If your beliefs are strongly negative and you don't change them, you can completely destroy your ability to succeed as an English speaker. Many English learners completely lose hope and simply quit, never to succeed. You must, therefore, replace your limiting beliefs with strong empowering ones. Empowering means giving power. So an empowering belief is one that gives you power. What kind of empowering beliefs do you need for English speaking success? Here is a sample list. English is easy, fun and exciting. I can speak English fluently in about 6 months. Mistakes are normal and necessary. Even native speakers make mistakes. Communication, not a test score, is the purpose of English speaking. Grammar study kills English speaking. Anyone can learn to speak English powerfully. There's nothing wrong with me, I've just been using a bad method and I can change that. I'm sure you can see how much stronger these beliefs are. You can see that these beliefs are more likely to create success than the limiting ones. You can probably imagine the greater feelings of confidence and excitement that these beliefs create. But how do you create these beliefs? Clearly the empowering beliefs are more desirable, but how do you truly reprogram your mind? One powerful method for changing beliefs is called modeling. Modeling simply means to find a successful person and study them carefully. If you want to speak English powerfully, for example, you find another person who has learned to do it. You learn about them. You learn what they did and how they did it. If possible, you talk to them and learn about their psychology and their methods. Finally, of course, you do your best to do exactly what they did. The more you model successful people, the more your beliefs will change automatically. By focusing on success instead of failure, you gradually reprogram your brain. This is why I created the Effortless English Club. In our community, the most successful members guide and advise newer members. While I hope this book will help to change your beliefs, There is nothing more powerful than hearing from another person, just like you, who achieved success. Your job now is to find successful English speakers and model them. You might find them in your town. You will certainly find them online. When you do find them, ask them about their beliefs and methods. Study their psychology and their success. This is exactly what I did when I developed the effortless English system. I studied the most successful English learners. I interviewed them. I studied their emotions, their beliefs, their goals, and their learning methods. That is how I created a system based on success, not failure. Remember, beliefs are created by the meaning we attach to experiences. The more you focus on and think about negative experiences, the stronger the limiting beliefs become. You can make empowering beliefs stronger in the same way. In other words, you can use selective memory to create and strengthen your positive beliefs. How do you do this? Simply by reviewing all of your past experiences with English. As you remember all of your past experiences, search your memory for any that were positive. Maybe you remember a fun activity. Maybe you enjoyed reading a short story in English. When you remember these positive experiences, write them down. Create a list of all the positive experiences you have ever had with English. Most people can identify at least a few such experiences. The next step is to focus your attention on these memories every day. Each day, review your list of positive English memories. Remember each experience. See each one in your mind and feel those positive feelings again. Then write down a new empowering belief about English. You might write English is easy and fun. You might write I enjoy learning English and I'm good at it. Write this belief at the top of your list and also review it each day. And of course, every time you have a new positive experience with English, add it to your list. Your list will grow longer and longer. And as it grows, your empowering beliefs will get stronger and stronger. We all know the computer programming term garbage in, garbage out. Beliefs are our brain programs. Garbage beliefs create negative emotions, bad decisions, and low motivation. These, in turn, create garbage out, terrible results. Those bad results then create new and stronger negative beliefs, and the whole cycle starts again, even worse. This is called a downward spiral. Positive beliefs, on the other hand, create an upward spiral. Empowering beliefs create more positive emotions, better decisions, and better motivation. These, in turn, create better results. Better results then create even stronger empowering beliefs. The whole cycle repeats again and again, getting stronger each time. This upward spiral is the key to rapid success with English. Chapter 5. English as a physical sport. English as a physical sport. One of the greatest errors of the hidden curriculum is that schools teach English as an academic subject. In school you study English. You learn about English. You analyze the parts of the language. You take tests about this knowledge. The problem is, English is not a subject to be studied. English is a skill to be performed or played. Speaking is something you do, not something you analyze and think about. Perhaps you can see the problem. Real English conversations are very fast and they are unpredictable. The other person speaks quickly and you never know exactly what they will say. You must be able to listen, understand, and respond almost instantly. There simply is no time to think about grammar, translations, or anything else you learned in English class. English conversation is more like playing soccer. A soccer player must act and react almost instantly. The player must play the game intuitively. Soccer players do not study physics formulas in order to play well. They learn by doing. They play soccer, they don't study it. Studying grammar rules to speak English is much like a soccer player studying physics to play soccer. It might be interesting, but it certainly won't help performance. Your job, therefore, is to stop studying English and start playing it. Remember that your fuel is an important part, perhaps the most important part, of your effortless English engine. Learning to play English, rather than study it, is a powerful way to develop strong psychology and go much faster on the road to fluency. When we first discussed fuel, we learned how to use our bodies to change our emotions. It turns out the body is, in fact, a very important key to learning English. By using physical actions while learning, it is possible to learn faster, remember more, remember longer and speak better. Dr. James Asher, a psychologist and professor emeritus at San Jose State University, found that using physical actions in language class actually helps students learn vocabulary better. Dr. Asher became curious about the link between language and movement after watching how young children learn to speak. He noticed that when parents said something, their children typically would respond with a word and some sort of action. He also noticed that parents frequently used actions and gestures while speaking to their babies. Based on his research and observations, Asher developed the total physical response system of language teaching, in which students respond to teacher commands in the new language with whole body actions. These actions strengthen the meaning of the phrase and make it easier to remember. Dr. Asher believes that students can learn 12 to 36 words in an hour using this method. I've had similar success using a version of it in my lessons and seminars. Of course, this is the complete opposite of what happens in most English classes. In school, you are told to sit still in your chair. You sit for an hour or more. Naturally, the longer you sit, the more your energy drops. As your energy drops, your concentration drops, too. And as your concentration drops, you learn less and forget more. Of course, this lower energy frequently leads to feelings of boredom. Less movement, less energy, lower concentration, and boredom naturally produce worse results, no matter what the method is, and so we have another downward spiral. While everyone benefits from physical learning, some people absolutely need it. These people are called kinesthetic learners. They learn best when they connect learning to physical movement. This kind of learner tends to struggle in traditional classrooms, where they are required to sit motionless for hours. Schools and teachers often label these people as being learning disabled or as having attention deficit disorder. The problem, however, is not that kinesthetic learners are disabled. Rather, the problem is a teaching disability, the failure of schools to teach active learners in an effective way. My effortless English seminars and classes are quite different. Many have described them as English rock concerts. In an effortless English seminar, we frequently jump, dance, shout, laugh, and move. In fact, it is rare for learners to sit for more than 15 minutes in one of my seminars. I want them moving. I want them energized. Because I know that active and energized people learn faster, learn more, remember longer and perform better. Remember, English is a performance skill, not a subject you study. The more you use your body while learning, the more success you will achieve. One way to use movement while learning English is to use the action vocabulary method. In this method, you connect a unique physical movement to a new vocabulary word. You shout the word and perform the movement. The movement should remind you of the meaning of the word. By doing this repeatedly, you connect the word, its meaning, and the unique physical action. This combination creates a stronger and deeper memory, resulting in faster and deeper vocabulary learning. This is far more effective than simply trying to memorize long lists of words. Another simple way to use your body is to walk while learning English. With a smartphone you can make your learning mobile. Instead of sitting on your butt, slowly losing energy, put on your headphones and go for a walk while listening to English. As you walk, your heart will pump and your brain will get more blood. You'll feel more energy and thus you will concentrate better. You'll probably enjoy learning more, too. There is no reason to be limited by the old school methods. You do not need to sit motionless in a chair while you learn. You do not need to remain silent. You do not need to be bored and tired. As an independent learner, you are free to learn in the way that is most effective and most enjoyable for you. You are the master of your own learning. Enjoy it. Remember the peak emotion exercise you learned? This is another excellent way to use your body while learning English. Take a short energy break. Play your favorite energetic music. Jump, shout, smile, cheer and dance for a couple of minutes. Fully energize your body and create peak emotions. Then continue learning English. Take these energy breaks every 20-30 minutes every time you learn English. I guarantee you will get better results. Watch children when they are playing. They are happy, energetic and active. Children learn best while playing. They bring an attitude of play to everything they do. Small children don't need much effort or discipline. They are energized by curiosity. They learn actively. They learn by playing and play while learning. It is time for you to rediscover these natural qualities. As an adult, you still learn best in this way. You, too, benefit from being active and energized while learning. You, too, benefit from physical movement and an attitude of play. As you use the techniques and methods in this book, always do so with a fun and playful attitude. There are two major parts to the effortless English system, the psychology and the method. You know that psychology is the fuel that makes the engine go. You must develop that fuel to create higher and higher energy for learning. You have learned how to use peak emotion anchoring, beliefs, and physical movement to create that fuel. You have learned the importance of an active, playful attitude. In the next chapter, you will learn another psychological technique for creating the most powerful fuel possible for English learning. Action vocabulary. So many students waste time trying to memorize English vocabulary. They study long lists of words. They repeat the lists many times, trying to memorize the English words and their translated meanings. Unfortunately, research shows that 80% of vocabulary learned in this way is forgotten in less than a year. That's a lot of wasted time and effort. There's another problem with this vocabulary learning method: it's boring, and it kills long-term motivation. As a student, you must be very careful. Killing your motivation is the worst thing you can do. Learning English is a marathon, it's a long run. It requires high levels of motivation that are sustained for many years. Using boring vocabulary learning methods, therefore, is doubly bad. It is inefficient and it weakens motivation. There is a better way, as participants in my breakthrough seminars have found out. It is possible to learn new vocabulary in a way that is far more powerful and is a lot of fun. When you learn in this way, studies show that you can remember 80% 1 year later. That's powerful. The key to deep, powerful, long-term vocabulary learning is movement. When you combine strong physical movements with understandable new vocabulary, you create deep connections in your brain and body. These connections are long-term. They last. The key is to use a movement that reminds you of the meaning of the vocabulary. For example, imagine you want to learn the phrase to proclaim. First you would find the meaning of the word, which is to say or announce publicly, often in a loud way. After you know the meaning, you create an action that reminds you of it. You might put your hands to your mouth and pretend you are yelling loudly. Finally, you would shout the phrase to proclaim as you did the gesture at the same time. The more loudly you shout and the more energetically you do the gesture, the stronger the connection you make in your brain. By simply shouting the phrase and doing the movement vigorously several times, you will create a stronger and deeper memory of the meaning. In a recent seminar I did in Vietnam, I taught a number of new words using this action vocabulary method. The students shouted the new words with me, while simultaneously using the strong actions I showed them. Each action was connected to the meaning of the new word or phrase. By the end of the lesson, they knew those words completely, never to forget them. But that's not all. Since effortless English is a deep learning system, I repeated those new words again, this time in a story lesson. Each time I used one of the new words in the story, I asked the students to use the same strong gesture we had practiced. Through the mini-story lesson, the students got even more repetition of the vocabulary, with emotion and strong actions. Finally, I gave the students homework: download the audio of the same mini-story lesson, and listen to that audio every day for 1 week. If students do this, they will learn these new vocabulary words very deeply, and will remember them forever. That is the power of the effortless English system, and that is the power of using physical movement while learning. 8 simple steps to changing your emotions. 1. Find some exciting, energetic music that you love. 2. Before you start listening to your English lesson, play the music. 3. As this exciting music plays, raise your head. Look up. Change your body. Pull your shoulders back. Stand tall. Then smile. Smile a big smile. Take deep breaths. 4. Next, move your body. Dance with the music. Keep looking up. Keep smiling. Jump and dance. Lift your arms over your head as you jump and dance and smile. Feel the happiness and energy from the music. 5. Stop and say loudly, "Yes." Say it again. "Yes." One more time. "Yes." 6. Now play your English lesson. As you listen, keep your shoulders back. Keep your eyes up. Keep smiling. In fact, stand up and keep moving. Walk and breathe deeply as you listen to the lesson. 7. When you listen to my mini-story lessons, answer each question loudly. Don't be shy. Shout your answer. Keep your head and eyes up. Keep a big smile on your face as you answer with a loud voice. All of these steps add more energy to your body and your emotions. Then play the lesson again. By managing your emotions in this way, you will study longer, you will remember more, and you will learn 2-4 times faster. You'll also teach yourself to be strong and confident when you speak English. Chapter 6. Use big real-world goals. Learn the English that's used on the street by native